Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about some of the unique, strange ways avoidants reveal their true feelings without saying, I love you. Pretty much every avoidant does this if they have feelings for you. And you're going to see it in a lot of these ways. I think it's very important to know this because a lot of times what people do is because their partner isn't saying, I love you, or they're not saying any direct way of commitment and you're very confused, you start thinking your partner doesn't love you, which makes you feel more negative, which can make you react a certain way, which can trigger them to withdraw. And it just creates a cycle. And so that's why I think videos like this are incredibly important with relationships with individuals who have attachment issues, because you're able to understand what's really going on. It makes you feel less uncertain, which is a trigger for both fearful and anxious preoccupied. And if your partner's dismissive or fearful, they will feel more accepted by you, which is one of their triggers, lacking acceptance. And so now both triggers are reduced just by understanding this, and which is why I think it's really important. And these types of videos, among all types of videos on this channel, I hope to not stop making anytime soon, as long as I can, because I think people need to know this. So the very first one is teaching and guiding. A lot of avoidants like to teach and share wisdom, offer guidance, or help somebody grow, typically through examples more than words. It's more common with dismissive avoidance. They really like to do this. So an example could be if you're frustrated about how to do your taxes, they might offer to do it with you or for you. They may show you how to do it because they feel comfortable with you, but they also want you to feel safe. And there's a part of them that feels uncomfortable that you're struggling. And they feel like the wisdom that they have, it makes you feel safe. It makes them feel like they're able to protect you or help you and make things comfortable for you. So that's where it comes from. The next one is, it is private moments of affection. This is more common with fearful avoidance. Dismissive avoidance might, I'll explain that in a little bit, but let me first talk about what it looks like. They might not show affection publicly, but when you guys are alone, it's a little bit easier to express tenderness, touch, holding hands, appreciation. With dismissive avoidance, they may struggle with both, and they are, how do I even explain it? They're actually okay with doing it in public, but it's more mechanical. So when you guys are together by yourself, they're a little bit more naturally physically affectionate. However, if you guys are in public and you say, can we hold hands? Sometimes they'll say, it's not my cup of tea, but I will. But it's like mechanical. They do it just because you asked. But them doing it is because they love you and they care about you. Fearful avoidance, they are a lot more shy typically with public affection. But when you guys are alone or together, they may be much more easily emotional. So fearful avoidance, like less in public and then more emotional when you guys are private. Dismissive avoidance, it looks pretty similar. It just one is more mechanical or might be absent, but if you ask, it becomes more mechanical. But even in private moments, dismissive avoidance are not always like the most emotional people, but it can show up, usually because they do care about you. But that's just a little distinction. The next one is respecting boundaries and autonomy. Avoidance in general, especially dismissive avoidance, this is more common with dismissive avoidance, they often respect the independence of others, and so they don't try to control or smother you, which can be subtle, but it is a strong form of love because that's what they want, and so they give you that. Just like anxious preoccupied, they want reassurance and attention and love, which is good fundamental stuff, by the way. It's a good thing. And that's why you guys give it to your loved ones, because you feel like that's what love is and you want your partner and loved ones happy. The next one is listening and presence. A lot of avoidance listen because they care about you. Now, fearful avoidance, they tend to do this a little bit more because a lot of fearful avoidance can be kind of anxious, to be honest, when it comes to opening up. Dismissive avoidance, they either are not opening up or they're talking, sometimes talkative, and dominate the conversation. But in general, both avoidance, even if they're not saying much, they're listening intently and they're present. And that's usually what matters to them because it's their way of showing that they care. The next one is protectiveness. This is more common with male avoidance. So fearful and dismissive, but more common with male. Females do this as well, but it's usually not as direct. Like male avoidance, sometimes it's so much and overcorrecting, it can even be a little overbearing for the other one. And I'll give a couple examples, but first let's talk about it. They often prioritize safety and well-being for those they care about, but it sometimes, especially for male avoidance, it can be very fierce and a little bit frightening for their partner. So for example, let's say you and your boss had a little bit of a back and forth, and you feel maybe you're a fearful avoidant. So you're not speaking up much. You feel disrespected, and your dismissive avoidant boyfriend, for example, maybe he feels like you're being disrespected. Sometimes they will go over to the point where they're like, I have a lot on my plate today, but I have a lunch break. Do you want me to drive over there and confront them? And they mean it. And that's not healthy, and that should not be occurring. But some of them do that, and it comes from the fact they care about you. Communicate with them that you don't need that, or you feel like that might be a little bit of a boundary cross. Just, keep that in mind. Male dismissive avoidance can be fiercely protective. So it's a good thing, but communicate with them that it's unhealthy, or that, some boundaries need to be put in place, because it is their true feelings, but that doesn't mean it's healthy, if that makes sense. So just be mindful of that one, okay? The next one is acts of service. Both female and male avoidants do this, both fearful and dismissive. Rather than grand romantic gestures, they often show their love by doing helpful things, fixing things, cooking for you, taking care of your needs, offering support. That one's a really common one. The next one is actually consistency and reliability. This will not typically show up in the beginning of your relationship, even if they like you. I'm going to be honest with you. This is not something that shows up in the beginning. Typically, it does not. Sometimes it can take up to a year, honestly. They show up. When they finally do this, it might take longer than a year, but once they do it, they typically stay this way. They follow through. They keep their promises, their responsibilities. They typically demonstrate love through dependability and stability, because a lot of them need that. It's true. Even though they don't act like it, they do. And if you ask them, they will directly, a lot of them are open to admit, yeah, I need that consistency. As long as somebody's there, we don't need to be holding hands and kissing all the time, or being physically intimate. I don't need that. A lot of them will say, I don't really need that. As long as I know I have you and I've been with you for years, you're the one for me. Most common thing that a lot of them want. Loyalty. A lot of avoidants are loyal when they love you. Okay? Most avoidants feel that deep and safe love is based on unwavering commitment through loyalty. Not all of them are like this, but a lot of them are. Okay? The next one is sacrifice and comfort. This is very common. And it's a little bit more common with dismissive avoidance, but it happens with fearful avoidance as well. Whether it's giving up time, energy, or personal comfort, they make these silent sacrifices. You want to do something, even if they're not a fan of it. Maybe they don't like Valentine's Day, but you want to go on a date. They're going to do that because they want you to be happy. Sometimes they even do it without expecting recognition, but truly they want recognition, so giving it to them will make them happy. And the next one is that they actually do things that you've been asking them for years. And this one, I think, it takes a long time, but if you've been asking them to be more thoughtful on dates and they start doing that, it usually is a pretty huge sign that they care about you. Because once an avoidant trusts you, they do actually put all their eggs in one basket. That's part of why avoidants are so afraid to commit, because they do put all their eggs in one basket. They really, really do. And so that means that all the things you've been asking, they know you want it and they are working on it. And once they start doing that, they have decided that you pretty much are the person for them. The next one is they actually are more comfortable expressing negative feelings because they feel like they're not going to push you away. This is more common with fearful avoidance. They may express moodiness while also being caring and affectionate towards you. So they may be moody from work, and usually before they would shut off and try and process it themselves, but now they're sitting next to you and hugging you, or maybe their hands on your leg, and they're still moody and they're trying not to like bleed onto and affect the relationship, but they're not hiding it either. They're still there. They're their authentic self. They also may communicate it with you. And the last one is they may lay with you or relax with you without talking or doing much else. Much more common with fearful avoidance. Fearful avoidants actually tend to cope with less hobbies and prefer peaceful, quiet time in comparison to dismissive avoidance. So typically they just want you to join them. on their quiet time. That's really it. So let's go ahead and summarize and then we'll wrap it up. The first one is teaching and guiding. Second one is private moments of affection. The third one is respecting boundaries. Fourth one is listening and being present. The fifth one is protectiveness. Sixth one is acts of service. Seventh one is consistency and reliability. Shows up later in the relationship typically. Loyalty, sacrifice and comfort. Doing what you ask of them shows up later in the relationship. Being more comfortable expressing negative feelings, more common with later in the relationship. And the last one is laying with you or relaxing with you. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.